Good evening, everyone. So, it is with a great pleasure extend a warm welcome to each one of you to this 7 days national level faculty development program on refining academic writing and evaluating research publication and citation. So at Christu Jayanti College, so we take pride to fostering the academic excellence with this initiative by the Department of Management. So it is a department commitment to enhance the research and scholarly contribution. So we are honored to have with us today our esteemed resource person, Dr. Kurnal Soni, Associate Professor at the School of Management, GSFC University, Vadodara, with his vast expertise in research and publication. So he will be guiding us through today's session on mastering citation growth via quality journals. Dr. Kunal, we truly appreciate your presence and look forward to gaining valuable insight from your session. So this program aims to equip faculty members with necessary skills to refine their academic writing and improve their research publication. Ultimately, increasing citation is very important today. So today's competitive economic landscape, so it is very crucial to ensure that our research not only meets the high quality standards, but also reach the broader audience effectively. So I encourage all the participants to make the most of this opportunity, engage actively, and ask the questions and observe the knowledge that we'll share throughout this session. So once again, I heartily welcome to you all. So let us embark this journey to academic growth and together. So now I request the Dr. Madhusudan sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Management, Christu Jayanti, to introduce our resource person of the day, Mr. Kurnal Soni. Over to you, Madhusudan sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, distinguished participants. It is an absolute honor and privilege to introduce a distinguished academician and exceptional researcher and inspiring mentor, Dr. Kunal Soni. With an impressive track record in the field of management, education, and research, Sir has significantly contributed to shaping young minds and achieving scholarly discourse in the business and management. Sir holds the highest degree, a PhD in management from Gujarat University, and currently serves as an associate professor at the School of Management, DSFC University. With 9 years of extensive teaching experience, he has played a pivotal role in grooming the future leaders. Sir has recently actively participated in numerous conferences and seminars on the research, management, showcasing his commitment to continuous learning and knowledge dissemination. His expertise has been sought after in 20 expert sessions, where he has enlightened the faculty members, students on the topics such as research methodologies, ICT tools, innovative teaching methods for preschool educators, and stress management as well. His outstanding contributions in these areas have earned his prestigious Best Resource Person Award twice at a leading business schools. His scholarly research is highly regarded with a notable paper titled Stock Prices, Effects of Behavioral Bias on Investors' Mindset in Gujarat State, India. His research excellence has been recognized at the international level, having won the Best Research Paper Award twice in an international conference sponsored by VGC and AICP. Dr. Soni has contributed extended beyond the academia into innovations and intellectual property as well. He holds a patent publication with Government of India December 2021 for his work, Techno Innovations and Growth of Indian Share Market, demonstrating his forward-thinking approach to a financial market and economic growth. A strong advocate of academic collaborations, Sir has a life member of esteemed organizations, particularly with GAP, a Grand Academic Portal, and Indian Society for Training and Development. And in a summary, Sir is a scholar, mentor, and a visionary who continues to impact the academic and the research landscapes with his dedication and expertise. With that, I extremely heartily welcome Professor for this particular session, and I am handing over the session to you, sir. Thank you so much, and I demand.
Thank you. Thank you, Madhusudan sir. Thank you so much, Sundaram sir. Thanks to Christ, Jayanti College, all the management for, inviting on, the prestigious day of faculty development program. And most importantly, giving me the platform to share, what I know about it and that can be shared with the society so that maximum people can be beneficial out of it, right? Because we can understand that education is a sharing knowledge, right? So it is always enlightening to do this kind of thing. So I'm just sharing my screen.
All right, sir, you can stop sharing. Stop sharing.
Yeah, I hope my screen is visible.
It's just
Right. Fine. So the focus for today is mastering citations and via focusing on the quality journal. So very important. This aspect is that we need to understand that when we talks about the quality journals, so quality always comes from the quality work. First of all, when we talks about quality journals, so quality journals also requiring some quality works from our side also. So when we are discussing about publications, when we are discussing about good citations, particularly in research paper, so we must need to understand that people are also demanding some quality works in terms of content quality, and most importantly, how you are synchronizing your paper in terms of the scientific way of writing the research paper, and most importantly, how different parameter needs to be justified and how they align with each other in terms of if at all I'm talking about title of the paper, if it talks about the objectives of the paper, if it talks about the hypothesis of the papers, and based on that how data interpretations and analytical tools we are applying on that particular things, and finally if we reach to the conclusion part, so conclusion also needs to be derived. So on that platform I just wanted to ask one particular questions to all of you. If somebody is knowing, then please it should be an interactive session. So if somebody is knowing, right, so what is your assumption when you are start writing paper, for good quality journals? So what do you think about it? Your title should be finalized in the beginning of the paper, or it should be finalized after end of the paper? Any experience that you people are writing, right, so that I can guide you accordingly, where exactly we need to focus upon and how we can proceed further as far as the quality research paper writing is concerned. Yeah, any answers from
I
the
prefer
audience?
writing it at the end of the paper.
Title should be written end of the paper. That's what your opinion, madam.
Yes, sir.
Why?
So that I have the essence of the paper that is brought up in the title.
Perfect. Essence of the paper, right? So sometimes, we are starting with the blue moon when we are starting the research paper journey, right? We don't know how the data will behave, how the variables will act. And based on that, what sort of findings and conclusion that we are going to derive out of this paper, right? So once we have the findings and conclusion in our hands, right? And there would be a possibility that when we have started with the rough idea of writing the research paper, and gradually we move toward to the findings and conclusions, sometimes the results might be deviating, the results might be changing, the results might be certain out of the box that we will receive. So at that time we cannot keep the title to be same because our results are showing something. Because and why sometimes people will think about it, why it is happening. Just like if we are doing PhD work, so in PhD every university is asking the title finalization to be on the first front, and then we are doing a research work. But actually, this is not the correct process because PhD is just the beginning of the research journey. The actual research for all the academician always start from after PhD. And that's why, title finalization is very important by looking at the, data behavior variables, and according to that, we should modify the title. And it is my experience that minimum 7 to 8 time titles we need to revise, at a time when we are finalizing our paper. Even if we are going with the proofreading of the paper, we multiple times finds the mistakes, and those mistakes needs to be rectified. And according to the mistakes, the rectification, the title needs to be finalized. So sometimes people might have the question that, why, why the title should be decided at the last. So my answer to this question is, if at all you are knowing the problems, if at all you are knowing the title, that means you are knowing the problem. There is one more important parameter for all the research papers is to have identification of research gap and, problem statement. So if at all you are knowing the problem statement and research gap, then my answer to this question is, why you are conducting research? If you are knowing everything, then what is the purpose of carrying research? I hope you are agree with me. But when we are in the blue moon, we don't know how the things are going to be. We are doing research, right? So ultimately, research paper is basically, when we were at the child level, there was one exercise which was given to us in our universities and college. Read the paragraph and give the right title. Agreed? So research is a kind of things. You are just starting with the, nomenclature or, the rough idea of the industry or topics or variables that you want to carry out. And gradually you are just carrying out the process one by one, and you are getting an idea what is went right and what is went wrong. And based on that, you are reaching at the finalization of the data, questionnaires, findings and conclusion. And based on finding and conclusion, again, you need to remodify the title because there should be a synchronization process between title and objectives, findings and conclusion. Agreed? Yes or no? So every quality journals are looking for this kind of parameters, right? So with that note, I'll start my presentation that, mastering citations via quality journals. So if at all we are talking about this parameter, so, very, very important point, the question will come if at all we are focusing upon the quality journals, how to begin our journey. So always do remember, you always needs to begin your research journey with the narrow down your topic. You always needs to narrow down your topic, right? That is, you need to define the scope of your topic, the scope of the research, and that's where you can always reach out to the title. Narrow down basically consists of research is a funnel process, you know. So funnel process means it's a EIC model. Anybody knows about EIC model in research? Any idea about EIC model? Research is all about EIC model. So how EIC model is going to work? Whenever you are focusing upon the title finalization, I'm not saying the final title, I'm just saying the rough title finalization. So research is always working on EIC model. And one more thing I have already told you that research is a funnel process. So funnel is looking like this. So out of this, research is EIC model. So E stands for economic. E stands for economic, right? E stands for economic. I stands for industry. I stands for industry. And what is T stands for? Any guesses? What is C stands for? If E stands for economic, I stands for industry, then C stands for company. I hope it is clear. C stands for company. Now let's say we will try to prove out this funnel process and EIC model. If at all you are going for the title finalization, then how gradually you are proceeding for all the approaches. So let me tell you, let's say I want to do one particular research on online banking, right? So can anybody tell me how you can decide the title? Let's say if I want to see the perception of people for the online banking, right? Then how should I look forward this title? How can I reach, let's say I was just sitting alone, I have a idea in my mind that I want to do the research on online banking, right? Now I want to finalize my title. How should I finalize the title? With the consideration of this EIC model, what should be the parameters that you need to look forward? How you are doing your practices, share your experience, so that we'll reach to, we'll try to bridge the gap between this aspect.
Maybe how the economy is benefiting or nurturing this online banking industry that exists around it and the
That means we
companies
are
that are.
talking about Indian economy,
Yes, exactly.
right? Or else, if we are going for the primary data, so basically we are not concerned about the economy, but at least we are concerned about the area in which we want to conduct the perception, particularly research or the data that we need to collect as a part of questionnaires.
Yes, yes, sir.
Right. So can we decide the geographical locations, if at all it is a primary data, and if at all it is a secondary data, then you can decide, which industry economy you are talking about. Let's say you are doing study of research for particularly growth prospect of the share market. So which share market are you talking about? India? Yes. Which share market out of India you are talking about? Are you talking about BSE? Are you talking about NSE? Yes or no? So this is economy. Right. So this is one aspect that we have to see. Let's say if I want to see the perception of people towards the online banking, I need to define in which area I want to carry out my research. Right. So this is a funnel process, right? We have to, clubbing all these things in a synchronization manner. Right. So that is one aspect. Industry. So online banking, right? So banking is already defined because we want to see the banking. But in the banking, which area you want to pick up? There are so many types of banks are available. Are you talking about private sector bank? Are you talking about public sector banks? Are you talking about cooperative sector banks? Are you talking about foreign sector banks? Are you talking about regional rural banks? Are you talking about NABARD, that is farmer banks? Which banks are you talking about? Right. So under the industry, there are subdivisions, right? Even if you are clear about the industry in which you want to carry out, but apart under the industry, there are so many, steps that you need to undergo as a part of the finalization of title. Right? So which industry you are talking about, and under industry, which segment of industry are you talking about? Right. So that is industry. So economy is one portion is clear. Then industry, we have to see to it. And then after the company, let's say you are deciding private sector banks, or let's say you are deciding public sector banks. Do you consider all the banks for the research? Can you cover up all the responses from the all the banks of private sector or public sector or cooperative banks, right? So whatsoever your target area in which you want to carry out this research, but it is not possible, right? And it is not required, right? Because we want to carry out certain banks which should be the area of study under my purview or under the availability in my area, right? So let's say if I want to go for top five public sector banks or top five private sector banks or top five, cooperative sector banks in the Gujarat state, right? So I can accordingly go for it. Yes or no? Right. So this is called,
Yes.
right. So this is how the EIC model work, and this is how the research model is going to be work, right? So that is why it is called funnel model. It's a funnel process. You start with the bigger one, try to reach it out to the nearest one, and finally you will reach out to the final one. That is where when you reach to the company, at least you reach to the 60 to 70% of your targeted finalization. Then rest of the things you will do it as madam has said, that will first see the data behavior, findings and conclusion, and then we'll finalize the title, right? So this is how the journey needs to be carried out, and through which the researcher can be able to finalize the title, right? So I hope the EIC model is clear. If at all you want to share your title and your things, then you can share it right now, or I'll guide you accordingly, or else we'll go ahead. Any doubt? Okay. So research, your research should be ethical, original, and significant. Very, very important when you are focusing upon the quality journals and through which, you are focusing upon the quality content. So it is very, very important that you should give the right credit to the right person for whom you have taken the base of your research. It is very unauthentic behavior. It is a part of ethical consideration of the research. And even in today's scenario, ethical utilization of artificial intelligence, so we must need to ensure that ethical consideration should be taken into consideration as a part of research, right? So very, very important parameter that we should always give the priority to those people from whom we have taken the base as a research. And that is where the cycle of citations will go on. If you don't cite others, how others will recognize you, right? So it's a networking activity. I always say is in my, I have almost taken 130 plus session today on different topics of research, analytical software like SPSS, MOS, EViews, R, Gretel, Orange, TLS, I always say that research is a networking activity. You always try to align with each other. It's not like that I know everything. It's not like that you know everything, but we both know much better than one individual. That is where the research is a networking activity, and through which you have to cite those people from whom you have taken the base, and through which you will be noticed in the market. And that's where, once the notice will be there, the cyclical process will go on, right? Then the effect will be cumulative, the effect will be multiples, right? Then you don't have to hunt for the citation process. It will automatically generated once your efforts will be recognized in the industry or the area on which you are doing the research. Then the citation process will go on auto mode. And once your history is strong in terms of publishing 2 3 quality papers in good quality journals like Scopus, ABDC, Web of Science, then after the third paper, in fourth paper, you don't have to pay much attention, or the fear of publishing paper into Scopus journal or any qualitative journal might be vanished in your mind. So that is very very important, that we should focus on those parameters, and accordingly we should focus. And that is why it has been said that research should be in focused area. So it should be based on current trends, patterns, requirement of the industry and the society. It should not be like that, we have no a downloaded 2005 paper, and we are just trying to modify some of the variable and we are trying to publish the paper. So this kind of paper will not publish in the quality journals, right? Because your research topic should be aligned with the current problems and prospects. If you are not focusing on those aspects, forget about it. Even sometimes researchers are doing authentic research with the complete efforts, dedications, but the title is outdated. So many research has already been happened, and now society has stopped looking on those parameters. And at that time, you are providing a research. So that consider that market has no requirement for this kind of research, because the topic, the requirement, the usage of that particular things is already outdated or vanished, right? So that is where your research should be focused area, and whatever area on which you are carrying out your research, it should be fundamentally strong. There should be some theoretical base, there should become theoretical model that needs to define the entire research paper, and entire idea and entire work of research needs to be carried out on the fundamental platforms. Very very important. And ask yourself about the quality of work that you have done and its citation process. So even if you are doing your research paper, you are publishing your research paper, but if you are not having networking activities, then you cannot share your research. And you are not sharing your research, you are not getting noticed. If you are not getting noticed, you will not get the citations in a pattern or in a manner in which you required. Right. So it's a very, very important that we should focus on those aspects. And relevance, very very important. I always say in my all the lectures, no research should be viable, should be justifiable without the consideration of societal importance. Always needs to define the societal importance of the research or the area or the topic on which you are doing the research. Any research without societal importance is completely useless. Society will not recognize, and at a time, it is a responsibility of the researcher also that they need to specify the societal importance section after the findings and conclusion in the paper, right? That how this research is contributing to the society, and how the society should be beneficial, and how this paper is different from the previous researcher, right? So that is how, gradually the step by step things you need to define. Okay. Understand existing research. So existing research, you will always get it from the literature review. I hope you are aware about the concept of systematic literature review. Yes or no? So there is a concept called systematic literature review, that every line or every idea that you are drafting in your research paper, that should be backed, that should be, covered by every individual authors, because today is in an era, where nothing is not explored. If you are trying to say that how I should explore something new in my area, although I'm a part of management, you are correct, because you are not inventing some software, you are not developing some machinery, because you are not from the engineering and technological background, but we are from the social science. So social science theory, humans are there, behaviors are there, ideas are there, psychologies are there, but how the different psychologies are going to be studied under different circumstances, under different products, industries, companies, and how these different behaviors should be notable in different parameters like in terms of locations, in terms of education, in terms of occupations, quality educations. So all those parameters will certainly make some changes, some modifications, some difference of opinion out of the research that we are doing it. And that is how we can make our research to be more unique. That even you can provide 0.001% new to the researcher, as a researcher to the society, then I think you are justifying your research in social science, right? So in social science, we are not an inventors, right? So sometimes people think about it. How should I write my research gap? Everything is defined. Everyone has find out something. You are correct. But how you are making it, making it unique as far as in the area or genre in which you are, right? So that is your keen observation that needs to be defined. And that is where, the problem identification needs to come, right? You need to define some new things, some new aspect, or 0.001% some idea generations, which is unique for the society. And that is where we have to focus. And most importantly, whenever you are writing a paper, always very, very important, even if you are a single author, you need to define your contribution in the research. So all the quality journals, you are focusing upon, they are asking one paragraph in terms of the author's contribution in the particular research work. So it is very, very important to define the contribution made by the every authors in the research, and through which it is also going to be published in the future aspect, right? So author's contribution is also going to matters in this particular aspect. Collaboration and partnerships. I always say that research is a collaborative efforts. You always have to collaborate with various institutions, industry partners, and international collaborators, right? Collaborate in terms of writing a paper, collaboration taking the data, collaboration in terms of allowing them to do the research in the particular area. Let's say if you are doing some municipal corporation survey for any research, so you must need to take a permission from the particular authorities of the municipal corporation, right? So that is called collaboration. You are asking permission, right? It's not like that collaboration means only it is restricted up to the number of authors who are doing the research. It's a myth. That collaboration in terms of everywhere, right? If you have noticed that one movie has been released, so they are making thanks to the particular department, like uh, particular department like police department, forest department, water department, or even if the shoot has been happen in foreign countries, so they are also thanking to that government. So this is called recognitions, right? This is called citations for them also. In research, we are citing the name of the authors, right? So collaboration should be everywhere, and to whom you are taking the helps, they should always be recognized in terms of even if they are eligible for citation, then you must give it. Or if they are not eligible for citation, if there is some authority in terms of industry and corporate, you must acknowledge them in the acknowledgement. So this is the very, very good practices that we always needs to focus upon. And journals are always looking for this kind of things, right? If we are trying to prove that I have done everything, but journals are looking not looking that you have done everything, but journals are looking to whom you have approached, how authentic data you have covered, whosoever is involved in this journey, how the data and the journey has been shaped out, and how the results and findings has been made out, and through which they will decide whether to accept the papers and reject the papers. So very, very important. And in research, to give a credit to someone is always a unique fact, activity, and practices that we must need to adopt. Innovation and technological transfers, so if at all you are putting something new into the market, it is always very, very important to get patent. And if at all you are taking some ideas from others patent, then also it is required that you give the citations and credit to that particular people. So innovation and technology transfer is one of the important aspect. Research infrastructure, very, very important for all the universities and institutions. If at all we are focusing upon, that the faculty needs to do the quality research work, so it is a responsibility from the institute and universities also that they should provide quality infrastructure in terms of, access of good quality journals, publications, software. Some of the softwares like, paraphrasing, grammar checks, plagiarism checks, so, and most importantly, data analysis software into different domains, right? So the access needs to be provided, and then only the research activity needs to be carried out by the researcher. So once any universities or institute is providing this kind of facilities and still research is not happening, then it is a responsibility, and it is a, some problems on the front of our side. right? So it is a one, it's a win-win situation for all if these facilities are there and research is happening, right? So every university needs to see that this facility is there. At the same time, the faculty members needs to see that research is happening. So research supervision and graduate training. So supervision in terms of we need to guide our students in the right directions, and at the same time, we need to guide in a sense that we have to mold them in such a way that they should understand the basic parameter, basic crux of the topic. I always say that data is always speaks rather than words. Data always speaks. Rather, when I'm bluffing something, I don't have a backup. But if I'm proving something with some links, some data, some facts, figures, so it always improves the understanding power and convincing power of the person who is delivering his speech or who is delivering his presentation and proposals. And so that's where the understanding in the minds of the judgment or audience always is going to be appreciated, right? So students also understand the concept that we are teaching in the classroom, if they are backed by some data and facts and figures. So same way in research, if at all you are claiming something, it should be backed by some data. If you are claiming that I have good papers, it should be backed by data in terms of availability of the papers. If you are proving your citations, so it should be backed by the citations on the various platforms. So that is where you need to prove each and everything over here. Clearly state the objectives. Whenever we are drafting a paper, we always needs to state the particular objectives in terms of questions and hypothesis for the investigations, right? So objectives and hypothesis should always be aligned with the title, as we have already discussed in the beginning of the presentation, that research is an aligning process, synchronization process. There should not be deviations between title, research gap, objectives, hypothesis, and findings and conclusions, right? So if at all any journals, quality journals I'm talking about, if you are planning to publish your paper into this kind of journals, so this kind of journals are always looking for the synchronization process among all the steps that I have mentioned over here. That should be synchronization. Nowhere the deviation should be noticed, right? Otherwise there would be a problem. Ensure feasibility. Feasibility in a sense, if I'm saying that I'll take the data of prime minister office, then I think you are putting your research into trouble, because if at all your data is not gettable, then your objective will not serve. And if your objective is not getting served, your title is not justified. So feasibility in a sense, data availability, variables, target audience. So all those parameters needs to sit and have a brainstorming on that. And finally, you have to reach to the conclusion whether it is gettable, whether it is doable or not, right? So feasibility in a sense, the practicality in terms of applications of all the parameters of the research needs to be justified. You cannot reach or you cannot work in a blue moon, right? So that is where ethical implications we have already discussed. Data collection tools, very, very important. It is completely depends upon the objectives and the titles on which you are trying to work. So depending upon that, your data collection tools need to be decided. If it all is a primary study, your questionnaire or survey method needs to be applied. If it is a secondary data, then you need to collect from the secondary sources, either through the website of the companies or the authorities or whatsoever things that you are focusing upon. So through which you have to collect the data, right? So this is how the things are going to be worked out. Then ensure reliability and validity. Very, very important that your data should be reliable and validated. It means it match and aligned with the title and purpose of carrying out the objectives. I hope you all are aware about the pilot study that you need to do in the research. Yes or no? Pilot study. Are you applying it?
Yes, yes, sir.
Right. So why we are doing this pilot study? What is the logic?
Um, to check if the questionnaire that we have prepared, if there are any problems with the questions that we have prepared, can be checked beforehand and can be modified while collecting the data.
Yes, most importantly, our whatever objectives and based on the objective, whatever questions that we have framed, we want to check the responses that we are receiving on the particular questions or questionnaire. Are they aligned with the purpose of the objectives that we are planning to achieve? Does respondent are understanding what we are trying to ask? Does respondent have given complete focused by understanding questions and while giving our answers or responding to the particular questions, or they have just tick mark like this, right? So does my data is qualitative in terms of meeting my objectives? That is why the reliability and validity needs to be checked, and every researcher needs to execute these particular practices. Is very very important. If any researcher is not doing it and finalizing his data, and at the time of execution of data analysis tools and techniques, if you are facing this kind of issues, then I think it would be a great problem, right? So it is very very important that we should justify, we should give some priority, some preference at the beginning of the level, so that the data needs to be justified, right? And that's why the next topic which I have said, once your data analysis tools needs to be applied, your data should be reliable. Because if your data is not behaving in a reliability manner, right, then data analysis tools and techniques is always going to be on question mark, right? Because if the data is not behaving in a manner it has to be, the application of statistical tool is always going to be question mark. So very very important that are you applying the right kind of analytical tools and techniques, so that for that data reliability should be there, and reliability should always be comes from the pilot study. So it is very very important that you should check your data for before proceeding to the analysis, and if at all you need any modification at that stages, you must do it. And again you have to do the pilot study, and if your pilot study is clear, then you can proceed for the final data collection. And after that you need to apply the right kind of analytical tools. So analytical tools, right kind of analytical tools means the data are different, the behavior of data are different. So how can the data analysis tools can be similar for every data? Because every data has certain behavior, every test has certain behaviors. So software is just a software, right? Whatever data you will give it, they will generate the results. They don't have a mind, they have a process, right? But who has a mind? That is a human, researchers. So researcher needs to apply the right kind of data at the right point of time in the software to generate the scientific results. And that is where the role of researcher is always comes out, right? People are saying that AI will do everything, do this. I have noticed that sometimes AI have generated wrong interpretation of the data also, right? So depending upon that, we have to see that what is our roles and responsibility, and accordingly that even in AI also ethical consideration of utilization of AI tools, right? So we should be ethical enough, right? Because if things are available in AI, what is our roles and responsibility? I'm not saying that not to utilize, but I am denying that 100% AI will not work for the quality journals. I hope it is clear. You should use AI. If AI is making our efforts to be on lighter mode, why not to use? But depending complete on AI and not applying our mind and brain, so that is not working as a part of focusing upon the quality journals. Is it clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right. Only data analysis tools will not work out. Why others are not responding? Only one faculty is responding. I hope others are also clear.
Sir, they are giving answers
Yes,
in the
sir.
chat box.
No chat box. Please be open up, right? I'll not check the chat box.
Yes, sir. It's clear. It's clear.
Right, right, right. So interpret the results. So interpretation, yes, AI can be utilized, but not completely, because we have to apply our own logic and discussion. Accordingly, we have to apply the AI tools, right? So data interpretation. Structure of your paper. So basically it is divided into five structure. First is introduction. Second part is literature review. Third is methodology. Fourth is result and discussion. And fifth is conclusions, right? So this is how we usually proceed. And I also, as we have already discussed, that after conclusion, we can able to finalize our title. And during that process, titles are going to be changed for multiple times, right? So once the final changes is always happening at the stage of findings and conclusions, right? Use clear language in a sense. It should not be used too much jargons, too much technical language, but the language which you are using should be very simple, very sober. It should be understandable by the target audience, because whatever research if you are doing it, if it is not understandable by the target audience, then this research has no meanings, it has no relevance, right? So we are here to provide the relevance of the research, right? So with the consideration of those things, we always needs to ensure that we should provide the clear applications of the tools, languages that could be understandable by the every ordinal individuals. Clear? So that is where we have to see citation approach. It always depends upon the the journals in which you are trying to publish your paper. So before writing the papers as a researcher for focusing upon the quality journals and citation process, you always have to see the author's guideline. You know, author's guidelines are very, very important to see to it. And under the author guidelines, all the things have been mentioned, what to do, what not to do. And one of the important parameter under the author's guideline that we must need to ensure is how the citation needs to be done in terms of APA style, MLS style, Chicago style, Harvard style, IEEE, Vancouver, you know. So these are the various citation process through which you can go for it. Stay updated, very, very important. As I already said, it is always not allowed, it is not always advisable to do the research on outdated topics. So it is always allowed and it is always advisable to do the research on the current topics, right? And after that, if at all you are completing your entire process, you must go through the proofreading. And out of these things, if at all after doing any process, if you feel that there is certain gaps in this process, so you must need to rectify at this stage only, rather than submitting your paper into journal and putting your credibility on the stake, right? Where the rejection chances is always going to be on the higher side. So it's very, very important that we should do on this particular aspect. Engage with peers. You have to engage with peers. So this is one of the platform for engaging all the peers. Even I'm delivering my session, so I'm also engaging with so many scholars, so many doctorates, people. So that is how the networking activity needs to be carried out. You will be beneficial from me, I will be beneficial from me, and that's how the academic progress and the win-win situation for everyone needs to be justified. So collaborate with experts in various seminars, conferences, and you can always pick it out those person who founds to be more knowledgeable in terms of the area which you are looking for. Right now, you are looking for the quality journals and citation process. So after this session, you would be like me or you will not like me, right? So both the scenarios are there if I'm not meeting up the expectations, but if at all I'm meeting with the expectations, you will try to collaborate with me, and I as a resource person, I'll always collaborate with you, right? So that is my expectation, right? So yes, we should fulfill all the criterias, and accordingly we should collaborate to the person to whom we found out to be suitable and useful for the future journey, right? So research is always about collaboration and networking. So reason for citation matters is there are multiple criteria where every universities and institutes are focusing upon improving the citation process. And the one of the important aspect is citation always define the quality research work that we have done it, right? So if at all you need to prove that your research is quality, you need to prove it in terms of the citations we have received, right? So that is citation process. Linking your key performance indexes, that is KPI and H index, right? University ranking in terms of if at all we are going for any university ranking like NIRF ranking, NAC criterias, or any other affiliation certification if you are looking for, then definitely we can look forward for the research perspective. And I think in NAC criteria and UGC purpose approval, 60% of the weightage for every universities and institutions are basically focused upon criteria number three, that is a research perspective, right? So if at all I'm not wrong, I think our Christu Jayanti College is also having NAC, right? So I think so they must have a good quality papers, to be clear on that part, right? So all these aspects are very, very important, and for which every scholar needs to provide. So universities are putting the criteria of promotion for the research because university needs to prove the research, right? So everyone has to combine and bind up in a common guidelines, that is research. Why do increase citations? So yes, firstly, I have already said that if you want to discover yourself into the market, that yes, I am the researcher in this field, and if I want to get noticed among the target audience and as a part of improving my citations, so yes, you need to discover yourself in a sense. You have to provide your research work to the target audience so that they can refer it, and if they found to be suitable, they will also give you citations, right? So it's a cyclical process that we have to do it. And we have to gently do it, because if anybody is taking idea of your paper, it is a good practices that they have learned something and they are acknowledging you as a part of literature. Research assessment, you know so research assessment, in a terms of, various bodies are doing it. At the PhD level, universities are doing it. At the journal level, the journal publications are doing it. And if at all you are applying for any major and minor research projects, so various funding bodies who are evaluating the research papers and research work that are scientifically correct, that are aligned with the title, objectives, methodology, data analysis, findings, and conclusions, right? So they are also trying to prove and ask to the respondent that how you will proceed. And by looking at the plannings and judgment, they will decide whether to give the fundings to them, whether to give the admission in PhD, or whether to accept the paper in their journals, right? So everyone has to see the quality, and quality always needs to justify by the quality work. And that's why every quality journals funding bodies are looking for quality research with the consideration of the synchronization process and the scientific way of carrying out the research work, right? So if at all you are looking for some good websites for the citation, so yes, you should have Scopus, Web of Science, Google Scholar, Taylor and Francis, MDPI journals, and InterScience journals. So these are the good platforms to publish your paper. So these are the good quality papers, journals who are providing the citations, which having the DOI numbers. I hope you all are aware about the DOI number. And if at all you are looking for the citation process, so citation is never going to come out with the physical copy of the journals, right? I'm not denying that although your paper has been published into online journals, but still you are receiving physical copy. That is a different aspect, right? But physical copies should not be derived and should not be helpful only. Only physical copy is not going to helpful as a part of citation process, right? So you should always publish your paper in those journals who are having affiliation with good platforms like Google Scholar, Web of Science, PubMed, Crossref, right? So these are the good platforms for receiving the citations. So you always focused on those platforms, and accordingly we need to carry out this process. I hope it is clear. How many of you are having Orchid ID? How many of you are not having Orchid ID, and how many of you are having Orchid ID? If at all, you can confirm in chat box. Those who are having Orchid ID. Do you know what is Orchid ID, or should I show it? Please confirm. It's very, very important for today's theme.
Almost majority are having Orchid ID in our college, sir.
Okay, great. So Orchid ID is a 16-digit ID, that is always required, and it is a good to listen that, everyone is having Orchid IDs. Good, great practices. So it's a 16-digit ID, that you always look forward as a part of generating citations, right? So whenever you are publishing your paper, whenever we are focusing upon the paper publication in this kind of journals, so the first step that we have to execute, by having a login or sign in, that where you have to give your Orchid ID, that is a 16-digit number, where the identity of the researcher is always going to be generated on the international platforms, right? So Orchid ID is very, very important as a part of focusing upon the quality journals. Clear? Okay, fine. Process to increase citation. So yes, publish original, rigorous, and significant research. Significant in a terms, your research should be advanced, modern. It should be aligned with the societal needs, and that's where it should justify the right kind of findings and right kind of problems which is actually required to be solved in the society. Write the research process on funnel title or the funnel approach. That is where you have to come out with the scrutiny process from economic, industry, and company, right? So every step you need to have a brainstorming, and only EIC now model will not help you out to decide your title, but actually, or this is also going to help you out in a terms where you want to conduct research, on whom you want to conduct research, right? But what parameters needs to be taken, that is you always have to justify based on fundamental fronts. And fundamental front means you need to decide the variables on which you need to carry out your research work, right? So that is where we have to see to it. Make sure that your research should be more advanced and updated, as I have already mentioned that it should be more advanced and unique in terms of the current affairs. It should not be outdated. Good journals is always required, for the quality references and, for the citation process. Having an idea about the quality of journal, that is, you should always about the aware about the impact factors. What is impact factors? Can anybody tell me? What is impact factor for the journal? Any idea? Or might be there are, just like we are having, one particular terminology, which is called H index. What is that? H index, So we always see to it, the quality journals, so how to check the quality journals? So there are certain criteria to evaluate the qualities of the journal. And there is one criteria out of that, for evaluating journal is the H index. So can anybody tell me what is H index? Do H index is only having for the researcher, or the H index is also having for the journals?
Both journals and the individual article both having the H index, sir.
Okay,
So how many published and how many is cited?
right. Nearest to that, you are correct, sir. So firstly, as sir has confirmed that both the people, either journal or researcher, is having H index. Now let's come to the point, what is this H index? So H index is basically the number of papers that you have published. Let's say if I have, I will show you one journal. Yeah. So can you see this journal? So this is one journal, where I am playing a role of reviewer over here, right? So this journal is having the H index of 143. Now, can anybody tell me what is this 143 H index if this particular journal is carrying? This journal is having H index of 143. What does this mean? If I need to evaluate that whether this journal is quality for me,
So that
whether
means
this journal is, yes, please.
total 143 publication published and 143 citation for that publications. Is that right, sir?
Right. So I'll just give 10% modification. So I think the paper should be numerous, right? But out of these papers, right, the good quality papers which researcher found to be most suitable, you know, so out of this, there are 143 articles of this journal who have been minimum cited by 143 times of the researcher across the globe. That doesn't mean that other article have not been cited, but the journal has reached to that level of efficient level that, even they are not considering 99 citation for any articles to be into consideration, because the journal has now reached to that level of legacy that if at all any article or if the journal needs to change his H index, then 144 article needs to be added, and that to be also cited by 144 researcher minimum to improve their H index from 143 to 144. And there are numerous papers who have been cited for 10 times, 20 times, and so on. That is not taking into consideration. So just imagine the articles or the journal's legacy, the quality of the quality that has been carried out by this particular journal. So the answer of this H index is minimum of 143 articles have been cited by minimum 143 times each article. Each article have been cited by 143 times, and the total articles in this journal are 143, right? So both the things should be matched, then only your H index will come out. And the name of the journal is Journal of Retailing and Consumer Services. And I hope you people are aware about the Scopus indexing and Scopus qualities like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 sequencing as a part of publications. Yes or no? Q1 journals क्या हो what is Q1 journal, Q2, Q3, Q4? Yes. So if at all we are talking about Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So if you have a four option, in which journal you people will focused upon to published.
So this Q1 is based on H indexer or any other criteria?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Scopus has categorized into four paper, just like UGC has just now discarded the UGC Care journals, right? So earlier it was in UGC Care 1 and UGC Care 2. But there was a lot of problem on, the portal of the journal. If you go to the website of the journal, they are not accessible. A lot many problems are there. So even I also feel that it was not required and it should be discontinued. And thanks to UGC that it has been discontinued now. So now the thing is, and many of the UGC Care journal are offline papers where people are not getting citation. So what I feel is if your publication is with you only, then what is the need of this paper? So that is where it has been discarded. But yeah, you always focused upon the peer, even if you're going for peer reviewed journal, right? But it should have the citation process with Google Scholar, Crossref, Ebisco. So these are the platforms through which you can have alignment on this journal, and through which people can search out the articles and they will cite your papers, and through which we will receive a citation. So very, very important things that we should focus. Now I'll come to that answer. So Q1 is the best journal, the creamiest journal. The minimum waiting period of this journal is 1 year to 1.5, and they are minimum sending 4 to 5 modification for paper. Then if you are not claiming Q1, then you can slightly down to the Q1 Q2 level. If you are not able to claim to Q2, then you will slightly down to Q3. And if Q3 is not gettable, you can slightly down to Q4. So the easiest level of Scopus is Q4, and the toughest level of Scopus is Q1. And this journal is Q1, and it is decided based on H index, because H index is 143. So if Q1 journal is having H index 143, so if you see Q2, Q3, Q4, so this journal are slightly less H index in comparison to the Q1 journal. So this is how you can also see to it the quality of journals that you are looking for.
Excuse me, sir. Any journal, any Indian journal that has Q1, that's in Q1 journal,
Many
Q1
journals
category?
are there. You have to define in terms of the scope and area in which you are.
So in commerce and management, is there any journal in Q1, sir?
Uh, I need to check, but yeah, I'll provide you the list of journals if you required, right? Because
Okay.
based on the scope and everything, because if at all I need to publish my paper, let's say in commerce, marketing, finance, HR. So I cannot say that this journal is of marketing, so any marketing person can publish the paper, but you need to go into the scope of the journal. Right. So if at all, if I'm talking about this journal, so this journal is basically focusing upon marketing under the subtitle of retailing and consumer services. So if at all your paper is focusing upon any article, any survey, any invention on retailing and consumer services, then only you can publish your paper. But if at all your paper is focusing upon advertising and promotion, then your paper cannot be accepted over here.
Sir,
So only
mainly
mark.
one of the biggest challenge is the funds, sir. So if you want to publish in Q1 journals, we need to pay around thousand, minimum $1,000.
No, it is like if you are going for APC journals, right? There are few journals which is free access, right? You need to see to the categories of the journal, right? Not every journals are APC journals, right?
One
So these
more
are the journals
important.
who are going to publish your paper on to paid basis.
Yes.
Yeah, but 1,000 in terms of what you are saying is it is an APC journals, right? But yeah, but your answer is in that context is correct. This journal are charging in terms of publication charges and all this aspect. Very few journals who are publishing in a free of cost. And at that point of time, the competition in terms of publications are also going to be quite high.
Right, sir. So one more, when I see some Q1, Q2 journals, so they are giving the name of open access and golden access. So what is that open access and golden access, sir?
Open access means the paper should be available for everyone as and when it is required. So there would be open access and APC journal, right? So APC means they are charging from you and they are also charging from the readers. But open access means they will only charge from you, they will not charge from the readers. So, when the citation does matters, reader needs to check the entire paper, right? So those people who have the entire paper as a part of publications, they can entirely see the papers and things. So that is where it is going to matters. So if the paper's full copy is available with you, you will have a complete idea about all such aspect. And if it is convenient to you, you'll try to incorporate in your research work and through which the person can be able to get the citation process. So those who are publishing into open access will have a greater prospect and possibility for the high citations.
So one question from my part. So it is normally told to us that if we publish in the paid journals in Scopus, then it will not be accepted, might not be accepted by the university. So is it correct? Sir?
In that context, universities criteria, who will be the authority will decide it, Um, because so if university needs to measure how whether your journal is payable or not, so they can also check from their website. And most importantly, certain journals are categorized themselves into APC journal, right? So APC journals are all paid journals. So if at all university needs to identify, they can easily identify. But sometimes any journals to whom you are publishing paper, although your paper is quality, still they are charging it, right? So always
Yes.
again, it is a debatable question. Right, I completely agree on that. Just like UGC care has been discarded, so
Yes.
now but it is not in the hands of UGC also because these are the international journals. But yeah, how the Indian education system needs to adopt those things, that is a question mark, because sometimes the journals are charging the amount in terms of dollars and pound, which is beyond our capacity sometimes. Although our paper are qualitative.
I get.
So there would be a deviation. On a first front, we want to publish our paper into quality journals, but on second front, 1 lakh for Indian academician, it's quite high charges, or 80,000. Just like sir has said, $1,000. So almost it is 90,000, nearest about 1 lakh. So it is good amount for it's a big amount for Indian academicians, right? So to afford for one paper, for which we are not getting recognition for that 1,000,
Right,
right?
sir. That
Right.
is a problem, sir.
So there is a deviations in this criteria. So yeah, obviously there would be some modification needs to be decided. I completely agree because I'm also academician, so I'm also facing the same problem. So we are all sailing in the same boat. Yeah. So what is to be there in terms of the paper? Yes. So the consideration of title length and special characters. So your title should not be too broad, it should not be too small, but it should be up to the mark, which covers every variables that you are trying to study as a part of your research. Right. So title length and special character needs to be justified. Right. And there was one survey that, of the over 1,50,000 papers uploaded to the UK Research Excellence Framework in 2014 reveals that publications with scholar titles and fewer authors had a great citation count. Right. So if at all you are looking for citation improvement, so this is another one assumption out of the bibliometrics analysis that, if your titles are shorts that can be understandable easily by the people, and if you have less authors, then the citations that you will receive to be on the higher side. And, so that is where the citation does matters for all of us.
Sir, is there any criteria for title? Is there any 50 words, 20, 75 words like that?
Say it depends upon the journal guidelines where you have to download the author's guideline, but mainly the title should not be too much bluffing. It should, the unified words needs to be carried out and no extra things should be carried out. Grammatically, it should be correct. In terms of the meaning that needs to be carried out, it should be scientific, right? And most importantly, the title should be unique, which is not taken by any other researcher. So that is very, very important that we need to see to it. So that whenever you are deciding your title, always try to search on various platforms that does this title is matching with others. So sometimes, you will get an idea whether your title is unique or not.
Yes, yes.
Right. So that is also
Yes.
we need to do these practices. Right. So that is where we have to see to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So these are the various platforms where you can create your IDs, like researcher ID, right? Where you can create your platforms, you can upload your papers, titles, and it will be available for the people for the citation process. Academia.edu, it is another platforms, right, where you can create your profile, upload your papers, and people will follow you. And sometimes you can ask the papers from directly over here if your networking and collaboration is on higher note. So that is also possible over here. Google Scholar, you can always go for it, So Google Scholar is another platform where you can upload your title. Sometimes if you are publishing your paper into good quality journals, referencing journal, so paper will be automatically added at the Google Scholar also. So that is also quite gettable. Orchid ID, as I already said, you have to create your Orchid ID. So it's a 16-digit unique number, and it was glad to listen from the sir that almost all the staff is having Orchid ID. So it's a good practice. You have this 16-digit unique ID, which is aligned with the email IDs, right? So that is where the all the records, all the data of the person can be gettable if it is updated. Yeah. So this is one aspect. I'll also show you one more things. I'll show you few things like whether you are aware about or not in practical scenario. Like if at all we are going with Schemago, right? I hope you people are aware about Schemago. Are you aware about Schemago website?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if at all you are looking for any journal rankings, so you can always go to Schemago and you can always check the journal ranking, right? So this is one journal which is called having H index 5, right? But let's say we are going with that journal, Journal of Retailing and Consumer Behavior, right? So all those who are not knowing it, let's have a blue bird overview over here. So this is Journal of Retailing and Consumer Services. If at all you are going with that, you can see this. This is a website of the journal. So sometimes, so you can see this H index 143. Yes. So this is, I hope the meaning is clear now. So minimum 143 paper have been cited by minimum 143 times by the various or researchers. Each papers, I'm telling each paper of this journal. And that doesn't mean that other paper have not been cited. Other paper have been cited, but still they have not reached to 143. They might be at 99, they might be at 142, right? But they are waiting for 144, right? And for that 144, every journal, every paper of 143 needs to be cited by one more time. Then this journal will reach to 144, right? So it's a quite tough game to get the H index. Clear? So this is ISSN number for any journals. So if you want to check, sometimes people are receiving some request for publication of the paper on WhatsApp. Yes. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So people are receiving publication of paper in Scopus journal on WhatsApp. I keep wondering how the Scopus can become on the WhatsApp. Right, because I'm getting mad, when I publish a paper, submit a paper, and the modification which we received is a killing aspect. So I don't know how easy that this process is going on. So I think those journals are coming to the WhatsApp, either they are clone journal or the journals who know it that they are going to remove from the Scopus, so they want to earn the money, right? So the moment your paper will be published, they are out from the Scopus. So whatever money that we are spending on this kind of things, it's not going to be useful. So always try to see it that you are parking your paper to the right places, and you are not wasting your time, you are not wasting your efforts, and most importantly, you are not wasting your morals, right? So if at all you are parking your money at the wrong place, your moral will go down, right? So always try to see this kind of cheating practices will not happen as far as publication is concerned. And if at all you want to check if somebody is sharing the link of the journal, you can always share the link, verify the link of the journal by going into home page, right? So you will automatically drag to the the main page of the journal. So no Science Direct and elsewhere journal are accepting a paper on email IDs. One more caution words I'm using it. No Scopus ABDC paper journals are accepting the papers on email IDs. You need to go to their portal, register yourself with the ORCID ID, submit your paper, You will receive a confirmation that you have submitted the paper, with your paper code, and whatever the modification and further communication that will be happen with the journal, that is with the publication code that you have received. Right. So these are the general practices that we also have to undergone, and accordingly we have to plan our journey of research. So never ever try to catch in this kind of bluffing stuff that you are putting your paper onto WhatsApp. Might be people will catch your ideas, and once you are going for the plagiarism, you'll have 100% plagiarism because you have handed over your work to the other person to whom you are not knowing. Right. So this kind of practices you always have to take care. And when you are publishing your, sometimes I have seen the journals, like they are openly available, they are having DOI number, but although they are clone journals, so the moment the journal will close down their website, you will start dropping your citations. So this kind of practices also happens with the people. Right. So we have to be very, very careful on this kind of things, as far as the citation does matters for all of us. Yeah, so this is how you have to check the website. So this is how the website looks like, right? And these are the name of editors. So yes, you can go for it and you can publish your paper. uh, Orchid ID. So Orchid ID, we also have to see to it. So yes, this is journal. You can see this subject area. You can see this. It is basically focused upon business, marketing, and accounting. And under that, specifically for marketing, and under the marketing, which area they need to focus. Again, you can go to the website of the journal and you can see this. Right. So if at all you are looking for other marketing journals, so this kind of journals are available with the Q1. Right. So this is Q1 journals. Clear. And I was talking about chat index. So not 143 is a benchmark, but you can see now on the screen the H index of the journal. So the topmost journal of the marketing is Journal of Marketing, which is having an H index of 284. Right. You can see on the screen this is 284. Right. 284. So out of that, how many documents, how many paper have been published in 2023? 56. And the ratio of 3 years is 173. Right. So this is total references which is received 4,217. So this is how you can see the journals, publicity, the journal requirements in the market from the scholars. So all those statistics will help you out to selecting your journal. If at all sir has said how to identify that whether this journal is from India or not. So again, the country is also, the journal country's signal is also mentioned. So you can always go and refer it, right? So you can see the signals, USA, UK, right? So majorly journals are from USA and UK. Even if you go to bibliometrics analysis for finding out the journals, major journals are from USA and UK, right? And USA is the biggest portion of the research. China is gradually growing as a part of research. So USA
Sir,
is also
we
facing a.
every day we are publishing more than so much of publication is coming up. Why Indian journals are not in that list, sir? Because EPW, Indian Journal of Finance, they are the good journals. Why Indian journals is not there?
See,
H
sir,
index is very less.
quality always comes from the continuous practices. At one point of time, it is going to be breakdown, when the authorities was changing, and when the journals, what I can say is the principle of journals are going to be, putting ahead or putting apart from the stake, and where the individual opinion will come into the practices. So the journal needs to suffer as a part of quality, where the other countries are always focusing upon the more and more quality. They are more and more enhancing the criteria to improve the qualities.
Sorry, Indian EPW journal, you know that it's a very high quality journal, but still it's not in that list. That is
Not
what I
in the
asked
list
you.
is there are certain reasons, sometimes the quality of the papers that other countries journals are receiving, and we are receiving, so that makes a difference, and that's
Yes.
where the quality makes difference. The citation does makes difference. How much papers they are receiving, that makes difference. How much rejections that they are making, that makes difference. How much submissions they are receiving, that makes a difference. And most importantly, the acceptance cycles and acceptance criteria, that does matters, you know
Yes, sir.
right? So that's how the Indian journals needs to suffer somehow, right? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got it.
Yeah, so I'll also show you. So this is how the statistics needs to be defined in terms of the journal citation. So most importantly, if you are looking for quality journal, just go through this H index. So that is sufficient. But if you want to add some filters, so these are the filters. So any area or the journals you are looking for as a part of your citation process, so you can change the area and the journals are available, right? So here you can see this for accounting, you can see this Journal of Finance. We were talking about 284, but this is, coming out to be the new heights, that is 352. The H index is 352 and it belongs to, uh, I'm very poor in terms of identifying the flags. It looks like
UK, UK, sir. UK, sir.
UK, right? So that is from UK, right? So this is how you have to, right? So this is how you can proceed further, right? And most importantly, are you people aware about Zotero?
Zotero. Oh, yes, sir.
Right. So you, whenever you are citing any papers, you always use Zotero software for the reference management.
Yes.
Very, very important to make your paper to be correct on the scientific ground. You need to mention and you need to align all these aspects with the Zotero, because it is not possible that physically or even in the PC also we are reading soft copies of the paper. And at the time, if I'm reading first paper today and after 2 months, if I'm reading 101 paper, so I'll not recall what I have read in the first paper, right? So Zotero and also software like Mandlay, they are putting the libraries for keeping the resources, and if at all, if I need to verify those resources and, at a time of reading papers, I can also put my personal comment as a part of future references. So, so if at all I want to see those papers afterwards, I can easily see the papers and, I can jot down the points which has missed out from my previous reading. So through which I can make my efforts to be on more corrective manner, more synchronization, and that will help me out to put my papers to be correct on the scientific ground. And Zotero is very, very important software to provide you the reference management platforms in all the formats that you are following, whether it is APA style, APA 7th edition, MLA style, Chicago style, Harvard style, Mount Vancouver, IEEE, whatever bibliotex, so whatever format that is needed by the journals. And if you are putting your all the resources into that particular Zotero software, then at the last moment, if at all your paper has been rejected in one journal, and now you want to shift to the other journal, right? So you don't have to hunt for the changing your citations also, it is available within single click, right? If you just change your reference management from APA to MLA, if one journal was focusing upon APA and another journal is asking for MLA, you just click on the reference management style from APA to MLA. It will change entirely. You don't have to change every individual references from your own if you have maintained your efforts to be on the right directions with the utilization of this kind of softwares. And all the journals are looking for this kind of works also, and through which your article needs to be justified on the all the scientific platforms, and through which you can make your articles to be published onto this quality journals by putting the qualities into your work. And these journals will always be noticeable, because who doesn't know in management journal of marketing, who doesn't know in finance or management journal of finance. They are the cream journals for, it is a dream come true for every academicians if the papers are getting published into this kind of journals. But at the same time, the efforts which is needed to be required and put by the every researcher is tremendous, right? And that's where the quality always comes into the picture. And you can put the qualities by putting all those efforts into right practices. So that is where you have to be very cautious enough, and through which we can have more citations if we have a quality research work among the society. So you need to create your image, you need to build your image, right? And through which you can receive a citations by the publications into quality journals. So yes, I have finished my things. Last 10 minutes is left, so I'm making this session open for the question answer. If any participants is having any questions, feel free to ask me. Yeah, any questions? Any participants, any questions? Any suggestions? Any personal works that you need to share? Need some comment? So I'm ready to take.
Participant is open for a question. So you can post it in a chat box or directly you can ask the resource person.
Anything you want to share as an opinion? You know, share your title, share your problems, prospects, right? Everything is allowed. It's not like that, I feel good for today's session. Always it is required, but yeah, let's have a discussion and, have a fruitful outcomes out of this particular 1.5 hour session.